And now another tale from the world of science fiction. As a matter of fact, this one is positively out of this world. Joseph Cotten, who first gained worldwide fame in 3 Orson Welles films, including Citizen Kane, stars in The 10th Planet. Incidentally, in order to have a 10th planet, you must first have a 9th. And since Pluto lost its planetary status, well, that's another story. So here's Joseph Cotten attempting to put our solar system back in order with the 10th planet. Today's feature on Radio Classics at theradiodadio.com.
Joseph Cotten inviting you to listen now to Hollywood Star Playhouse, brought to you by the Bakers of America.
Hollywood Star Playhouse. 30 minutes of mystery, thrills, drama by Hollywood's finest writers featuring Hollywood's top stars. Brought to you by the Bakers of America through the cooperation of your baker. Hello there, this is Wendell Niles. In a moment, we'll bring you Act One of today's transcribed story, The 10th Planet, starring Mr. Joseph Cotten. Did you know that 40 to 50 years ago, most of our women baked their bread at home? That's right. But today, fine, fresh bread is readily available every shopping day. But this has been made possible only because of the development of large-scale methods of baking, because of hundreds of baking plants throughout the nation, and because of fast, modern means of bread distribution. So, 95% of the 40 million loaves of bread we Americans eat every day is supplied by our bakers. And in addition to bread, who but our bakers could turn out such a varied assortment of delicious bakery foods? Yes, for variety, convenience, economy, for nutritious, good eating, you can depend on the Bakers of America to help you serve better meals through bakery foods. And now, Act One of The 10th Planet, starring Mr. Joseph Cotten.
It's only a matter of time. They know our weakness and they know our strength, and they will conquer and rule the earth. It is only a matter of time. The time it takes to reach Earth from the 10th planet. My name is Walker. My home is in California, North American continent, planet Earth. I'm writing this in a room deep inside a spaceship approximately 4.5 million miles from Earth. On Earth, I was a teacher of mathematics. Among the others seated about me are a doctor, an accountant, a judge, an actor, a machinist, a farmer. The list is a long one. There are men of various nationalities who, one by one, disappeared off the face of the Earth. There are men who are being taken to the 10th planet. My life, for the most part, has been average, unexciting. On Earth, I attended church, discussed politics, gave my son boxing lessons, and on Saturday nights, my wife and I usually had a few friends in for bridge. These things are important, not only that you may know more about me, but that I may carefully report and you may evaluate everything that has happened since the afternoon I walked into my home and found a visitor awaiting me. A visitor from the Bureau in Washington. Hi, darling. Oh.
Todd, this is Mr. Webster. He's with the Bureau.
How do you do, Mr. Walker?
He's a G-man, Pop. A real honest...
Bobby.
Yes, Bobby. I suppose you and Mummy...
Yes, I'll keep him occupied, dear.
Oh.
Come on, Bobby. We'll drive down to the market.
Sit down, Mr. Webster.
Thank you. Here are my credentials, Mr. Walker.
Mm-hmm. Just what do you want to see me about?
How long has it been since you've seen your brother, Mr. Walker?
Well, Harry, Oh, I haven't seen him since he went work at the Atomic Center over in New Mexico.
You talked to him recently? On the phone, I mean?
No? Why do you...
Letters from him?
Well, he usually writes about once a week, but I haven't had a letter now in, I guess it's been close to 3 weeks.
What did he write then?
Oh, just the usual things. Working hard, feeling fine. Usual things a brother writes. And
No mention of his work?
No. He's never written about his work. It's highly secret, I believe.
Yeah. Mr. Walker, you and your brother have always been very close, haven't you?
Yes, ever since our father died.
And he hasn't contacted you in any way during the past 2 weeks?
That's right.
Well, I guess that checks you out, Mr. Walker. Sorry to have bothered you.
Mr. Webster.
Yeah?
What's happened to Harry?
I'm sorry, Mr. Walker. My orders were to contact you, find out when you heard from him last. That's all I know.
He's dead.
Dead? Why do you say that?
If he weren't, I'd have heard from him.
Well, you can't be sure of that now. He may have been transferred. His work is classified. There could be any number of reasons.
No. When Harry took the job, we prepared for that. We have a code.
A code?
We agreed that if he should suddenly be sent somewhere unexpectedly, or if he weren't free to let me know where he is or what he's doing, he'd send me a wire saying, "Happy birthday, Pappy."
Uh-huh. Pappy?
Well, he's called me that since Dad died.
I see. Well, now, let's not look on the black side, Mr. Walker. You may hear from him any day.
Can you give me any other information about him?
I'm sorry. I'm just doing a job.
So was he. Webster was barely out of the house when I was on the phone. After an hour and 20 minutes or so of red tape, I reached the security officer at the Atomic Center in New Mexico.
Security, Major Collins speaking.
Major, I'm the brother of Harry Walker.
Are you calling from New York, Mr. Walker?
I'm calling from my home in California. What difference does that make?
Well, if you give me your number, I'll call you back.
I realize the necessity of caution, but I don't understand why you people won't tell me what's happened to Harry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Walker. I'll have to call you back.
Don't bother, Major. I'll be over there by tomorrow night. The heat was rising off the asphalt-covered street as I drove through the small desert town of Lurock. I was hot, dirty, and tired after driving all night. There weren't any signs to show me the way to the Atomic Center, so I stopped for coffee and got all the directions I needed. 45 minutes later, I was in a small frame building, a kind of sentry post, waiting for Major Collins.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Walker.
Major Collins?
Yes. I had to stop inside to pick up your brother's personal file. Before we say anything else, I have a few questions I'd like to ask you.
You have questions to ask me?
Please, Mr. Walker, sit down and let me answer.
Well, what's that?
Just a routine test. Now then, according to this file, Harry Walker's nearest living relative is his brother, Todd Walker. What is your wife's maiden name, Mr. Walker?
Miller. Jean Miller.
The birth date of your son?
April 12th, 1941.
Your grandfather's birthplace?
England. I believe Ipswich. Not too sure. Now, look here, Major.
Just a few more, Mr. Walker. What was the name of the family that lived next door to you in 1933?
33. Well, we lived in Adamsville then. Well, there was a girl. Her father was a minister. I don't remember their name, though.
What happened to a dog you owned called Spot?
Well, Spot was killed. He fell down a flight of cement stairs. I was only 10 years old when that happened. Now, Major Collins...
Here's your pass. Now, if you come with me, Mr. Walker, I'll tell you everything we know about the disappearance of your brother.
Before I had a chance to say anything else, before I could think of anything else to say, we were beyond the two sentry posts, through the great steel gate, and inside the restricted area of the Atomic Center.
You aren't radioactive, are you, Mr. Walker?
What?
We're passing through a safety zone. If either of us is contaminated by radioactive materials, pitchblende, uranium, an alarm bell will sound.
Oh.
How's your son doing in school this year?
Bobby? Oh, fine.
I read the last two letters you wrote to your brother. Sounds like you got quite a boy on your hands.
Yeah, he is.
Playing right field on a school baseball team, huh?
First base.
Oh, yes.
Still checking, Major?
Nobody ever died from being too careful. This was your brother's room.
Why is it padlocked?
I didn't want any of his things disturbed. It is exactly as he left it.
When are you going to tell me what happened to him, Major?
Cigarette?
Thank you.
3 weeks ago today, at about 8 in the evening, your brother was seen to leave this room and enter the area outside. He appeared to be on his way to the mess hall for supper. He never arrived there.
Where'd he go?
We don't know.
What?
All we do know is that about 50 yards from this building, he was accosted by a man wearing a heavy trench coat.
Trench coat in this heat?
He stopped and talked to this man. That's the last time he was seen.
Who was the man in the trench coat?
We haven't been able to identify him. Culver, one of your brother's friends here, saw them together. He heard the man call your brother by name, and he heard your brother mention the word target several times.
Target? This is just the way Harry left the room, huh?
Yes. Be careful about touching things, please.
Oh. There's your suits and shirts, billfold, wristwatch. All of his things are here.
Everything. Even his pass and identification papers. Everything but the clothes on his back.
What's this piece of rock here on the desk? Paperweight?
I suppose so.
It's heavier than it looks. Probably something he was working with.
I can arrange for you to take his personal things in a day or two, Mr. Walker.
Thanks. Well, you certainly can't suspect him of deserting.
We never did. To do that, he'd had to walk out of the camp. He didn't walk out.
Then?
There's only one possible way he could have gotten out of here.
How's that?
Up. Straight up.
We left the room soon after that and started down the stairs. Neither of us said very much as we walked slowly back to the little building at the front gate.
Are you going to stay in Lurak, Mr. Walker? Or do you plan to return to California?
I don't know yet.
When you know, I'd appreciate if you'd call me.
Yes, I will. What's that?
Safety zone alarm. One of us is contaminated.
What?
One of us has radioactive dust on his clothes. Over here, please, quickly. All right, Mr. Walker. I'll step out into the zone first. Looks like you're it. Will you step out, please? Come on.
Radioactive, are you sure?
Certainly.
How? I haven't touched anything except that paperweight.
I know, Mr. Walker.
I barely touched it.
You'd better spend the night here, Mr. Walker. By the time the boys in the decontamination room get through with you, it'll be quite late.
Thanks. Incidentally, I've made up my mind.
Yes?
I'm going to stay in Lurak. I'm going to find out what happened to Harry. Next morning, I drove back to town and called on a real estate agent. He knew of an adobe house for rent just off the highway, about 5 miles from the atomic center, and I took it sight unseen. The house was small but comfortable, and most important, it had a telephone. That evening, I called Jean.
Todd, oh, it's good to hear your voice. When are you coming home?
I thought I'd stay here a while, Jean. Maybe you and Bobby could fly over.
Of course. When?
Tomorrow?
Wonderful, darling. Did you find out anything about Harry?
I'll tell you when you get here.
Well, what's the house like, dear? Todd.
Something's happening here, Jean. Something I don't understand.
What?
Everything's turning green. The house, the room, everything.
Todd, what is it?
There's something out there in the desert, a green light.
Todd, are you...
Jean, listen to me. Hello. Phone's dead. That noise. That humming, what is it? Yes? What do you want?
May I come in? Thank you. Is it always so cold here?
Cold? It's hot over 90.
Precisely.
You're cold even with that coat on?
I have brought you a message, Mr. Walker. I was told to say, happy birthday, Pappy.
Oh, Harry's alive.
Of course.
And you? Who are you?
Forgive me. My name is Torgut. I come from the 10th planet.
We'll return for Act 2 of The 10th Planet, starring Mr. Joseph Cotten, in a moment. Mother, remember the days when you were a schoolgirl? And remember the sort of things you ate for your school lunches? Perhaps you'd say, why, I ate just about what I serve my own youngsters each day. Well, Mother, there's a big, important difference in bread today. Yes, it's a fairly safe bet you're serving your children enriched bread. Bread enriched with wonderful health-giving vitamins. And it's mighty important, Mother, that you serve your children plenty of enriched bread, not only for their school lunches, but for every other meal of the day. Children need the thiamine, the riboflavin, and the niacin contained in enriched bread. Those vitamins are necessary elements children need to give them good, healthy appetites. Elements to help keep them bright and alert all day long. And they also need the iron, which is added to enriched bread, to help them build good red blood. Maybe you think of bread as just one food. Well, bread is more than that. It's lots of good foods in one. Yes, there's flour and milk, sugar and shortening, and yeast and salt. They contain protein, calcium, and calories. Then when the bakers add precious vitamins and minerals, well, you can see why bread is known as our most important food. And that's why we say bread supplies lots of food for so very little cost. So, Mother, help keep your children healthy and happy. Serve enriched bread at each meal every day. And next time you visit your food store, look for the word enriched on the wrapper of the bread you buy. And now, Act 2 of The 10th Planet, starring Mr. Joseph Cotten.
My heart was pounding like a voodoo drum. I didn't want to believe what I'd heard. Talk of flying saucers, spaceships, interplanetary travel. This wasn't for me. I was a professor of mathematics, a logical man. And yet, there I was in a rented adobe house in the middle of the desert talking to a man who had calmly announced in a manner that made me believe him that he came from an unknown planet somewhere in the Earth's solar system. The 10th planet.
In talking to Earthmen, I find that to be the most simple designation.
But there are only 9 planets in our solar system.
You are mistaken.
But the scientists...
Are mistaken.
I see. You say you've seen my brother recently?
Yes.
Where is he?
With us.
He's all right? Unharmed?
In perfect physical condition and very happy. In fact, only one thing could make him happier.
Yeah?
Sit down, Mr. Walker. My time is limited, and I have much to say.
For the next 2 hours, I listened to the most fantastic narrative I had ever heard in my life. It defied logic, reason, and at the same time seemed to explain the flying saucers, the green fireballs, and the disappearances of so many men during the past few years.
Industrialists, artists, jurists, writers, scientists are but a few.
But why? Why are you doing this?
So that someday these men will be able to rebuild what is left of Earth.
Rebuild Earth?
Your experiments into atomic research, juvenile as they are dangerous. You are children playing with matches that could ignite the universe. We cannot let that happen. Therefore, the time is near for us to conquer Earth. You have seen our ray powers.
Ray powers? I never heard.
Oh, I believe you call them flying saucers. Most amusing. These are scouting craft. Soon we shall land in force.
When?
Before I may answer that, Mr. Walker, I must know whether or not you intend to join us.
Oh, I see.
I realize you will want time to consider this proposal.
Yes, I will.
I am authorized to give you 3 days Earth time. In 72 of your hours exactly, I shall return.
Suppose my answer is no.
Then you shall stay here on Earth.
But I could warn them. Warn all the nations on Earth. Make them stop production of atomic weapons.
Warn them? Do you think they would believe you, Mr. Walker?
All right, Todd. Do you want to tell me now about Harry?
Harry's safe. He's fine.
Well, that's a relief. You hadn't mentioned him all day, so I thought... Well, Todd, where is he?
On the 10th planet.
Oh, darling, stop joking. I'm serious.
So am I. Deadly serious. Jean, listen to me. Listen. And remember that I've never been more serious about anything in my life.
Good evening, Mr. Walker.
Oh, Major Collins, come in, sir.
Sorry to disturb you at this time of night, Mr. Walker, but we've been very busy at the research center, and I didn't want to think I'd forgotten about you.
Well, it's kind of you to take such an interest, Major, but, well, to be honest, I don't think we'll be around much longer.
Oh? Have you had some word from your brother, Harry?
No, not exactly, but... Well, under the circumstances, there doesn't seem to be much point in staying here. I'm sure you people do everything you can to find him.
Mr. Walker, are you sure you haven't heard from your brother?
I have neither seen nor talked to my brother.
I ask if you've heard from him.
Yes, I have heard of.
Mr. Walker, as a citizen, it's your duty to turn any information you may have over to me.
You wouldn't believe my information, Major.
Well, suppose you let me be the judge of that.
All right. I've received a message from Harry.
Where is he?
On the 10th planet.
What?
He is on the 10th planet.
Mr. Walker, this is no
I'm
time
perfectly
to...
serious, Major. I told you wouldn't believe me.
I see. And that's all you have to tell me?
One thing more. The inhabitants of that planet are going to conquer this Earth.
With rocket ships and ray guns, I presume. Mr. Walker, I'll ask you once more. Where is your brother?
I've told you.
You leave me no choice, Mr. Walker. I shall have to report the fact that you are withholding vital information. Good night.
Shortly after 10, we heard it. And again, the desert and the room, everything turned that strange metallic green.
It's fantastic. Todd, I'm scared.
No, baby, it's all right. This is just how it was the other night.
How long before he'll come to the house?
Any minute now.
I don't like this.
It's funny. You should have been here by now.
Maybe something's happened. Todd, maybe they're going to kill us.
No. Don't talk like that. I'll take a look out here.
Todd, don't leave me.
Yeah, stay with Bobby. I'll be right back.
Todd!
Good evening,
Go.
Mr. Walker.
Target. We've been waiting inside for you.
Yes, I know. Have you reached your decision, Mr. Walker?
Yes, we have. We're going to go with you.
We?
My wife and son, we're all packed.
I'm afraid you misunderstood my original proposal, Mr. Walker.
What?
My offer to you did not include your wife and son.
It took me only a second to realize what this meant, and then I turned and ran as fast as I could. Suddenly, in that moment, I was a man of Earth with a wife and child, and I had no intention of leaving them. Jean!
Yes, dear, what?
Get your things, hurry. We're getting out of
Todd,
here.
what is it?
I'll tell you later. Now, get the car started, and I'll get Bobby.
But what about...
Please,
What is
Jean.
it, Pop?
We're going home, son, back to California. Come on, here we go.
I don't think I'd like it on another planet. I like it right here. planet. I'm scared.
I'll drive, Gene.
Where are we going?
I'm going to contact the atomic center. I looked back through the rearview mirror and breathed easier. The night was moonlit, pure golden moonlight. It wasn't green anymore. When we reached the highway, I was sure we'd make it.
Darling, what is it?
I don't know. Gas is all right. Here, take my jacket. I'm going to look under the hood. Ignition's okay. It's not flooded. Gene, I don't see a thing wrong.
What shall we do?
There's a gas station about a half mile down the road. You stay here with Bobby.
Todd.
I won't be gone over 20 minutes. What is it? Oh, no, green. Everything's turning green. The Ray-Paw, they're coming after me. I've got to get away.
Mr. Walker, why exert yourself?
What? Target.
You cannot escape us.
I'll get away. I've got to get away. I've got to make it. No, Gene! I'm positive that Earth as we know it is doomed. There's only one slim chance. If Major Collins were to have the radioactive rock we found in my brother's room analyzed, he would find that it is not of our planet. Perhaps then he would realize I was telling the truth. Otherwise, it's only a matter of time. They know our weakness and our strength, and they will conquer and rule the Earth. It is only a matter of time.
Thanks, Joe. And if my voice seems a bit shaky, it's because you've given us something to think about.
Wendell, I really don't think there's a word of truth in this flying saucer business. The other day, I read a statement by a man who runs an airline. He said that 20% of his pilots had never even seen a flying saucer. Oh, by the way, my thanks to Joan Banks and Richard Beale, Ben Wright, Peter Leeds, and Hans Conried, whose performance, you might say, was out of this world.
Thanks again, Joe. We'll hear about next week's Hollywood Star Playhouse right after our Bakers of America home economist, Miss Helen Reed, tells you about a dessert idea for your school lunches. Miss Reed?
Thank you, Mr. Niles. A school lunch may be a light lunch, as against an evening meal where you serve several different dishes. But still, a school lunch should be balanced nutritionally. That's why a dessert for lunch is just as essential as for a bigger, heavier meal. But what could be simpler for you to serve, or more enjoyable and tasty for your children than cupcakes? Now, you can get either the frosted Devil's Food cupcakes or the frosted white cupcakes in the bakery department of your food store. You'll find them all neatly wrapped to keep them fresh for several days. And each package usually contains 2 or perhaps 3 generous-sized cupcakes. You might get several packages next time you shop for food. And if your children carry their lunch to school, you'll find cupcakes fit into a lunchbox very nicely. Of course, cupcakes make an ideal after-school snack, along with a tall, cold glass of milk. Cupcakes are delicious. They're wholesome, and they add extra energy school children need. You'll find they're very economical, too. When you visit your food store, visit the bakery department. Find out what a wonderful variety of ready-to-serve desserts the Bakers of America prepare for you, fresh and delicious, each day.
Thank you, Miss Reed. And now here's a word about next week's Hollywood Star Playhouse. It's a story called The Reluctant Witness, starring Dennis O'Keefe.
Every detail of that horrible accident etched itself on my memory. I was determined that I would never allow myself to be called as a witness. And later, when I found it wasn't an accident, but murder, then it was too late.
Joseph Cotten can currently be seen in the Universal International Technicolor production Untamed Frontier. Tonight's transcribed story was written for Mr. Cotten by Charlie Smith and Ralph Rose. The entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any similarity to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. This is Wendell Niles speaking for the Bakers of America with an invitation to be with us again next Sunday for Hollywood Star Playhouse. Enjoy another half hour of fine dramatic entertainment brought to you direct from Hollywood by the Bakers of America, who are helping you serve better meals through bakery foods.
That's Radio Classics for this time around. Be sure to join me again soon when I'll bring you another episode from those golden days of my favorite medium. And remember, what's old is new again at theradiodadio.com. I'm Dave Allen.